Welcome to the video for our sensory toolkit. Before we start, just a few notes on what to expect. This video is aimed to be educational. Due to the broad nature of people accessing this information, it won't be tailored to individual circumstances. This video is part of a series that will cover all different topics about sensory processing. Watching the full series will give you a greater understanding of sensory processing. The aim of this video is to build on our understanding of our 8 sensory systems. We'll have a reminder of the big cup, little cup analogy. We first introduced this in our What is Sensory Processing video. If you haven't watched this video, you may like to pause and go back. We'll then consider what your toolkit could include for those who may experience differences with their sensory processing. We'll do this by considering each individual sensory system. This is a reminder of the big cup, little cup analogy. This relates to the processing part of our sensory information, and it happens in our brains. When we think about a low neurological threshold, this means it doesn't take much information from the sensory system to elicit the response. So you have a little cup, and it fills up very quickly. You might also call this being over-responsive. It doesn't take much information for your brain to notice and register it. When we think about a high neurological threshold, this means that you need a lot more information from that sensory system to register it. So you have a very big cup, which needs more to fill it up. You might also call this being under-responsive. Any sensory system can be in any threshold. You may have a little cup for touch and a big cup for auditory. Typical then falls within the middle. It's important to remember that there may be fluctuations in all of us throughout our days. This is normal. Your sensory toolkit involves you. You are the best thing in your toolkit, your knowledge about your child and the skills you already have. Analyzing a behavior can be helpful in your toolkit. If you've not already watched our Being a Detective video, you may like to pause and go back. It may be helpful to consider the behavior that you're seeing, and if you really feel a sensory approach will help. We'll now look at each individual sensory system and use the big cup, little cup analogy to help us consider what strategies might be helpful. If you think you'd like a reminder of the 8 sensory systems, please pause and go to our Learn About the Senses section of this webpage. Let's start with our visual system. If we have a little cup for our visual system, we don't need much sensory information before we've registered it, so you'd be aiming to reduce the visual stimulation. Strategies such as having a specific space to work in can help. You may like to consider if the lighting has an impact. Is natural light more tolerable? If we have a big cup for our visual system, we need more information to fill up our cup before we've registered it, so we're aiming for regular opportunities for visual stimulation. This may be through using bright colors, having contrasting colors on worksheets, or using toys that provide a lot of interest visually. Our sense of smell is sometimes called our olfactory sensory system. If we have a little cup for our smell sensory system, we'll notice smells very quickly and can sometimes find this unpleasant. One helpful strategy is to find a favorite smell and have this on a tissue or on your sleeve so that it can block out unpleasant smells. It's also important to be aware of smells in the environment that could be distressing, such as strong-smelling cleaning products, aftershave, or air fresheners. If we have a big cup for our smell sensory system, we would want to provide a variety of smells. If a child is looking for smells to the extent it stops them from doing other activities, you'll want to ensure they have access to a variety of smells prior to completing another activity. Next, our tactile sensory system. When we have a little cup for our tactile sensory information, we notice it much sooner than others might, and touch can sometimes feel uncomfortable. It's really important to make sure you consider if an expected touch is uncomfortable, and if it is, when might this be a problem? Does the child need to sit at the end of a row in class? Do they need to be at the front or end of the line? Where do they sit for assembly? Having designated spaces to sit on the carpet may help all the children. Sometimes, if tactile input is uncomfortable, we need to calm our nervous system by providing proprioceptive input, which we'll discuss in a few slides. This includes activities like big bear hugs or using weighted items. We know that we all experience tactile input throughout our day, when we brush our teeth, brush our hair, wear clothes, eat our meals, and so on. We may need to build up the experiences slowly, a little at a time, and have a structured introduction to these. Good preparation is key. Using a social story or a now and next can support. We may need to visually show how long the activity will last for, or we may need to use counting as a way to show the activity will end. When presenting the activity, you can say, let's do this for 3 seconds. Ready, steady, go. 1, 2, 3, finished. When we have a big cup for our tactile sensory information, we're looking to fill up our cup. Sometimes children do this by seeking out all sorts of activities. We can provide lots of lovely tactile information through play activities, and it's important that we provide this before a more focused activity so that you've filled up their cup so they can move on to something else. Having a fidget toy in their pocket may help, or a textured pencil cover to feel. Next, let's consider our auditory system. If we have a little cup for our auditory sensory system, it won't take much stimuli to elicit a response. This may not just be related to the volume of noise, but it can also be about the pitch or tone of the noise. You may like to consider quiet areas being available to use as needed. Think about how the child will request this. Do you need to signal that it's quiet time, or can they request it themselves? You will have likely heard of ear defenders. These can be over-the-ear style ones, or they can be in-ear noise cancellers. Some are noise cancellers and some are noise reduction. When considering these, please consider which will be the most comfortable, and which are most likely to stay on. Just a note about ear defenders. These can be isolating for a child, and sometimes children can become more sensitive to sounds if they wear them often, as they're not hearing a variety of sounds. So we suggest trying other strategies in the first instance, and ensure they're not overused. Another option is earpods or headphones. Sometimes using a background noise can help, like a fan or white noise, to help soothe or block out more unpredictable noises. Think about how you use your voice. What's the tone of your voice? Is it an even tone, or does it rise and fall unpredictably? There are some noises which we may know cause more upset than others, like the Hoover, alarms or hand dryers. But a lot of situations are unpredictable, and it's this unpredictability which causes some of the worry. So what can we do to help in these situations? Social stories about what happens when we hear noises might be helpful. Have strategies which soothe and calm to hand. Sometimes it's just about safety in that moment, and then use your sensory knowledge to support them in regulating back down afterwards. If we have a big cup, the child may be looking to fill their cup with noise from themselves or their environment. So you provide it, and you provide it in such a way that you are feeding their need at regular times so they don't feel the need to seek it out themselves. It's sometimes the seeking of the noise which can cause disruption to their play, learning or daily tasks. So how do we provide it? We can use music and noise in our everyday tasks. We sing when we dress, do their teeth, go to the car. We can use songs for learning to engage. And we can vary our voice by changing the volume and the pitch regularly. Our vestibular sensory system is our sense of balance and movement. This sensory system is located in our ears. If we have a small cup for vestibular, it doesn't take much information before we register it. For those with a little cup, we need to consider a slow and gradual introduction to movement. Be mindful that a little movement may feel like a lot, so take it slowly. Feeling safe when experiencing movement is key, so always be true to your word. If you say you will do 2 little pushes on the swing, only do 2 little pushes. It's important to be aware of the child's head position during a movement. Having our head tilted or turned upside down is much more of a challenge. You may want to start with small movements where the head is upright. If we have a big cup, we may be looking for more movement opportunities to fill it up. When we're looking for movement opportunities, it can interfere with our daily life. So you want to offer regular opportunities for movement throughout the day. Here are some examples which can provide all different types of movement. You can move up and down, side to side or around. Always be careful with rotational movement, as this is the most stimulating. Small adjustments can be made, such as sitting on a cushion that's filled with air, or having something under our feet that we can move. The proprioceptive system is our sense of body awareness and position in space. This sensory system is a little different. Proprioceptive input largely has a calming effect, so we tend not to see signs of a child being over-responsive to this type of sensory information. Children can exhibit seeking a proprioceptive input when they're aiming to gain more feedback to their bodies, and sometimes to calm the feelings of overstimulation from other sensations. Instead, you can have poor proprioceptive processing, so you're not getting the messages from your muscles and joints quite accurately enough. To support this, you want to provide more intense input to the muscles and joints. This is any activity which activates your muscles and joints. This can include big hugs, hanging off things, being in a body sock, which is a big neoprene bag which you get in and stretch. Pushing or pulling activities. Chewing such as sweets or sucking like thick milkshakes through small straws. Or blowing activities, like musical instruments, or a windmill toy. As the proprioceptive sense is often soothing and calming, if you're feeling unsettled, or you need other systems dampening down, this is the sensory system to feed. Interoception is our awareness of internal body signals like hunger, thirst, pain, emotions, and needing to go to the toilet. Some children may be overly responsive to these cues, finding them intense or distressing, while other children may be under-responsive and may struggle to notice them at all, leading to missed signals. For children who are over-responsive, mindfulness practices like yoga can help them tune into their bodies in a calm, controlled way, as the slow movements provide both vestibular and proprioceptive input. Body checking. Visual aids and verbal labeling of emotions as they arise can guide them in recognizing and categorizing sensations, helping to reduce discomfort. Grounding techniques and relaxation exercises like deep breathing or sensory breaks with self-regulation tools can also help children learn to respond to body signals in a functional way. For under-responsive children, establishing predictable routines with visual prompts, reminders, and communication devices like emotion charts or cue cards can build the habit of tuning into their bodies. Regularly scheduled breaks for hydration, snacks, or bathroom visits help build on association between activities and bodily needs. Social stories and verbal encouragement can teach these sensations. Both groups benefit from tools like social stories, which reinforce understanding of emotions and body cues in a functional everyday context. We can think of activities as being either alerting or calming. If we have a little cup, we may need more calming activities, and if we have a big cup, we may need alerting activities. Generally, calming activities tend to be slower, predictable, and steady, whilst alerting activities are changeable and faster. Thank you for listening to our Sensory Toolkit video. You'll find a worksheet for each of the sensory systems on our website, with signs of difficulty and strategies to support. These recap what you've heard here. If you haven't already, you may like to go back and listen to our other videos.